Sounds pretty good to me. Hey, everybody. You are tuned into the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream here on YouTube. This is number 96. Holy cow, that's a lot of Saturdays. Thanks for being here. Some of you, I think, have been here for many of those 96 Saturdays. I appreciate it. Some of you are watching this after the fact. Thank you for being here. My name is Jonathan. I'm here for your guitar-related questions. I've taught the guitar for a long time. I have some answers. I hope you have some questions. If you're watching this live and you have access to the live chat, put some guitar questions in the chat with a few question marks in advance. That's how I know your question is aimed at me. In between your questions, I got plenty to share with you, including, check this out, everybody, including, we're going to talk about a new Patsy Cline record. Whoa, in light of that new Patsy Cline record, we have a question going. Instead of a poll question with a couple of answers, it's an open-ended question. In light of this new Patsy Cline release of live material, who would you like to hear from? If you could hear one more song from a performer who has sadly passed away, who would that performer be? Let us know in the chat. But we're going to talk about that Patsy Cline record. I got some new used guitar books to share with you. In fact, one of which I specifically bought for this live stream tonight because this book checks off a bunch of things, including bass note runs. We've talked about bass note runs a lot in this live stream, and we're going to do two songs tonight, our virtual play-along songs, both of which have some cool bass note runs. And I want you to see how this particular author of this particular book presented the bass note runs. I think you'll get a kick out of it. So we're going to talk about that. I have a few lessons that you'll never forget, including songwriter guitar part 2. How about a Friend of the Devil exercise based on the Grateful Dead song Friend of the Devil? If we have time, I'm going to teach you how to solo with the wrong scale. That ought to be interesting, right? A few lessons you will never forget. I have my own dumb question of the week. We're also going to talk about the hardest working guitar players. Who are the hardest working guitar players? I will let you know. We're going to talk about that a little bit. If we have time, there's a couple of segments that I like to jump into, including segments called Who's in Town? Who's coming through my neck of the woods? Should I sell out? A very goofy segment. We'll see if we have time for that today. Ooh, here's a cool one. Stay tuned. Graphic representations of music from a science point of view, intervals, frequencies. I think you'll get a kick out of this. We're just going to scratch the surface today. I hope to present more of these visual scientific images of music to you in the future. I think you'll get a kick out of that. So that is a portion of the agenda of what I have on my mind for you and for me tonight. I want to say a few hellos. Hello, Bruce and Byron from Sydney, Australia. Bruce is reminding us Mother's Day is around the corner. Bruce is wishing happy Mother's Day to his mother, I imagine, maybe his wife, Bruce, maybe both, right? And I do want to wish everybody happy Mother's Day, all the mothers out there. The way I'm looking at the clock, in about 7 hours, it'll officially be Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to my mom and to my wife and to all the moms out there. Scott Rhodes is in the chat. Randy is in the chat. Booba John, Matt Delahunt, Winston from Wales is in the chat. Bruce Isaacs is voting for one more song from David Bowie. If you could hear one more song, right? That Beatles song won a Grammy, right? The Beatles song, the John Lennon song that got turned into a new Beatles release. Remember, you know what I'm talking about, right? A couple years ago, a year or two ago. Scott has his FTM Telecaster hooked up and ready to go. Matt Delahunt votes for Prince. One more song from Prince. Yeah. Poopa John says, how is the new place? That's right. I'm in studio number 3. And hopefully this will be the final home for me and my business. Oh, it's going great. Poopa John, thank you for asking. I'm settling in. Lots of little stuff to do, but the big stuff is taken care of. But I'm going to put another coat of paint on a few of the walls, just a few little details here and there. But oh man, my new space, beautiful. I was in my last space for 19 years. That's a long time. And for a bunch of reasons, it was time for a move. And hey, Ethan's in the chat. Ethan says, congratulations on the new digs. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate that. Ethan, you got to stop by and say hi sometime. Yeah, and among many reasons, I'm a happy camper. My neighbor, I can almost reach out and grab my neighbor. My neighbor is a great restaurant with great pizza and other Italian delights. Oh man, can't complain about that. That's a beautiful thing. And yes, I have been indulging. I've been trying not to eat too much pizza, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I'm a happy guy. It's clean, it's dry, it's well lit, it's secure, all the things you want in a commercial property, right? So yeah, it's great. Hey, in case I didn't mention it, we're going to do 2 play-alongs tonight. Instead of 1 play-along, 2 play-alongs. They both are folk music classics. And when I say folk music, I mean old school folk music. I don't just mean some songwriter with an acoustic guitar, which is, generally labeled folk music. Nothing wrong with that. But the 2 virtual play-along songs today are going to be old school folky tunes, partly because they're in a new used book I just got, and I like how the guy presented the whole bass note runs concept. So it just checked a bunch of boxes. Why not? But we're going to do 2 of them tonight, because why not do 2? I got a whole book's worth, So plenty of time to do all that kind of stuff. So please do keep the answers going in the chat. What performer who has passed away do you wish you could hear a little more music from? I could give you some suggestions, but I don't want to put thoughts in your head. Who's the first name that comes to mind? I mean, you can go way back. You can go back to the 1800s, go back to the 1700s. Go how far back do you want to go, right? A lot of possibilities. Randy says 1 more from John Prine. Scott says Eddie Cochran. 1 more from Eddie Cochran, right? Someday we'll do a poll question on putting a band together. Putting a band together with so-and-so on bass and so-and-so on guitar. And yeah, Poopa John votes for Hank Williams. Yep, I hear that. All right, my friends, let's jump into something here. How about let's jump right into the Friend of the Devil exercise. I'm going to throw this up on the big board here. Some of you are familiar with a song called Friend of the Devil with the Grateful Dead. If you are not, don't worry. You don't need to be to benefit from this exercise. Okay, on your screen very shortly, if not immediately, you will see this exercise I'm talking about. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because it doesn't take up too much space. What's going on in this exercise? I thought you'd never ask. How's that? Whoa, is that big? That's big, right? Man, it's too big. All right, there you go. Okay. What's going on in this exercise is a descending G major scale. It sounds like. By the way, any major scale descending doesn't just sound like Friend of the Devil. It also sounds like joy to the world, the Lord has come. The first 8 notes of Joy to the World, that Christmas classic, literally are the notes from a major scale descending from the 8th note down back to the 1st note. Okay, in between each note from the G major scale, you're going to do a light, very light, I can't emphasize how light, a light brush down up on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th skinny strings. Hold the pick extra loose when you do that. To the best of your ability, do not hit the 1st skinny string. Do not hit the 2 fat bass strings. To the best of your ability, hit just those. The end result goes like this. I'm starting from the beginning there, that 0 on the G string. Okay, now this is not literally note for note how Friend of the Devil goes. It's a step in that direction, and it's a very cool exercise. I might encourage you to let go of the single string note. Anytime you play a single string note that's fretted, like the 4, the 2, to let go of that immediately right before you do the strum, especially if you're playing electric guitar, because for the moment, we don't necessarily want that note to keep ringing. of exaggerating it right there. But okay, so see what's happening here? You're playing a melody. It happens to be an exact descending major scale. You're playing a melody, but you're keeping the rhythm of the song going with those light brushes down up. Squeeze the pick a little bit tighter on the single string notes. And then relax your grip just a little bit for the brush. We want a contrast. Okay, we want it to sound like two guitar players, because you want to go a lot faster than that, you know. But ideally, it sounds like two guitar players, one picking out that melody and the other with that light brush. Okay, that melody, you want it to be loud and proud. You get the idea, that little brush down, up, you want that to be soft. Why am I saying this is not exactly like Friend of the Devil? The second line, that begins with 3 on the 5th string, on the A string, that second line almost certainly involves a proper C chord being held down. And when that 3 turns into the 2 on the 5th string, realistically, it's probably the middle finger just reaching over. So I in hindsight, I could have put this in here, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll revamp this. But the song is essentially a G chord. This part of the song is a G chord, and the whole first line is essentially the band is focusing on a G chord. And the second line is the band essentially is playing a C chord until you get to that end of line 2, that 3 on the 6th string. The band, as a band, is back on the G chord. Another way to put that is, say someone was playing the piano along with this. You're the star of the show, but they're just accompanying you on the piano, playing just chords. They would play a G chord during the whole first line. The second line, they would play a C chord behind you until they got to that 3 on the 6th string at the very end of line, towards the very end of line 2, and then they would change back to a G chord. So in light of that, it's almost certain that the Grateful Dead is grabbing a C chord. They're putting their ring finger on the 5th string 3rd fret on line 2. And then reaching over their middle finger to get that 2 on line 2. And you can do this if you're so inclined. 5th string open, but I still have my index finger down. And then I finally get back to the G chord. If you're inclined to do that, and you don't find it particularly challenging, you're okay with doing that, then more than ever, I suggest that 3 on the 6th string at the end with your ring finger. Because that ring finger is waiting right there for you. You're not doing a proper G chord, so it doesn't matter how you typically do G. It's just that your ring finger is waiting for you right there. Okay, so why is this an exercise? How cool is it to essentially play a melody and in between the melody notes, fill in the space with a little brush down up? It's very cool. I'll answer my own question. It's a very cool skill. In the case of this song, it's very linear. That's a term I like to use. It's very linear. The scale is just walking right down the scale. And you could say the timing, there is no timing, in the sense that the timing is so consistent. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka. That is the timing with no variations. Sometimes when people want to know how does a song go, what's the timing of it, they want to know when does something change? When does it go to something else? When do I have to turn my brain on and change something? In this case, no changing. Boom, chicka, 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 boom, chicka. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say about this, doing it as written with no concern about changing to the C chord is still a great workout, a great exercise. So all that stuff about the C chord that I went through just then, don't stress out about that. If that doesn't click for you, don't worry about that. Just by doing this, you are getting some very cool benefits, Winston is voting for Christine McVie. Charlie Beagle is voting for Buddy Holly. The question is, what recording would you like to hear posthumously? One more song. Yeah, how about a a Buddy Holly song. Oh, that'd be so cool. Yep. Oh, well. Hey, Bruce has a question. Bruce says, Jonathan, do you use and practice triad shapes for your playing? Any advice on how to practice triad shapes? If by triad shapes you mean you're putting your fingers in the grip of a chord, but then sliding that grip or that shape or that formation up and down the neck, if that's what you mean, that's definitely something that I employ a lot. And the example I'm giving is like a D major chord that I might, excuse me, do up and down the neck for different purposes. Yeah, definitely. But Bruce, maybe in the chat, clarify a little bit, because the term triad, I see a lot of people use it in slightly different ways, and I want to make sure that I'm reading your question correctly. So feel free to clarify in the chat, because that's what comes to mind when I hear triad shapes. I just think of any 3-note chord, which is basically any major or minor chord, putting my hand in that shape or that formation, you could call it, and then moving that up and down the neck and using it in different ways. But go ahead and clarify, Bruce, in the chat where you're getting at with that. Hey, while Bruce does that, let's talk about this new Patsy Cline. I'm going to pull this up on my end. I'm going to stop sharing this friend of the devil thing. Oh, by the way, I haven't done it yet, but that PDF you're looking at right there on the screen, that will, before long, I will put that on my website for members of my website, so they can print that out at home. Okay, so this new Patsy Cline album, it's called Imagine That. Includes never before released tracks. You may know Patsy Cline from songs such as Crazy and Walking After Midnight and a lot of other fantastic songs. She has a one-of-a-kind voice. Patsy Cline died 1963 in a plane crash. The new album is subtitled The Lost Recordings 1954 to 1963. Anybody see the movie about her life starring, who knows? Put it in the chat if you know who portrayed Patsy Cline in the movie. Was it called Sweet Dreams? I think it was called Sweet Dreams. Who played her in that movie? I have to admit, I have not seen that movie. I bet it was great. I haven't seen it. The album that's coming out now, I hope it just came out. I think it did. Live tracks never released before now from live performances from the years 1954 and 1963, including live performances of some of her biggest hits. The unreleased songs came from all over. Some came from institutions like the Grand Ole Opry, Country Music Hall of Fame, but some were held in private collections. And now they're gathered into one album called Imagine That. I have not heard it yet, but I look forward to hearing. Maybe on my drive home tonight. I have a short little commute back home, about 20, 25 minutes. And that's just enough time to sink my teeth into something like the new Patsy Cline album. Very cool. So anybody, wasn't it Jessica Lange that played Patsy Cline in the movie that I think was called Sweet Dreams? Charlie Beagle says, I saw a stage play about Patsy Cline a few years ago. Yeah, there's definitely a phenomenon of stage plays, featuring someone's life story, but also a whole lot of their songs, right? Hank Williams or you name it, Elvis. It's super convenient because all the songs are right there. They're all familiar tunes. So you walk in and you know what you're going to get musically. And then for better, for worse, a lot of our favorite performers have, pretty interesting life stories. So I imagine the stage play or the movie, they kind of write themselves, right? We saw the movie about Ray Charles a few years back, the movie about Johnny Cash, and then more recently, movie about Freddie Mercury, Elton John, all these interesting people. And I have a feeling that they're not going to stop anytime soon. A lot of people out there. So Bruce, do clarify in the chat, because I want to make sure I answer your question. Okay. Because you're talking about practicing the triad shapes. So that's why I think you're not talking about just like a D chord or something like that. I think you're talking about something beyond that. So do let us know. Hey, I have my own dumb question of the week. I ask it so you don't have to. It's a dumb question. What's a good guitar goal to aim for? I don't know. It's a dumb question. I don't know. What do you want to do? But it's a fair question. What is a good guitar goal to aim for? It's way too open-ended, and yet let's talk about it for a minute. It's not that dumb a question, right? What is a good guitar goal to aim for? We can make a list. We have dozens of people watching at the moment. And so amongst the dozens of you, you're going to have, I would guess, easily 10 different answers. If you could pick one goal on the guitar, I bet you're going to have at least 10 different answers. Ethan is confirming that, yeah, Sweet Dreams, 1985 film about Patsy Cline, starred Jessica Lange. Yeah, very cool. So I'm going to follow up on Bruce's question, and then we'll get into what's a good guitar goal to aim for. Bruce says, yeah, playing a chord with 3 notes fretted, lots of triad shapes to know. I'm going to give you 3 majors and 3 minors. And I saw this one time, and I like how it was presented. FDA. Here in the United States, you say FDA, and we think of the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Those are 3 great shapes to be familiar with. Of course, F, at the moment, it doesn't matter how good you are at F or how not good you are at F. What matters is that you can visualize the shape. A 4-string, 3-finger F chord. I'm barring the 2 skinny strings at the 1st fret, and my middle finger, 3rd fret, 3rd string on the 2nd fret, ring finger, 4th string on the 3rd fret. Okay. I've closed off the guitar because I'm squeezing 4 strings. I'm ignoring the 2 bass strings. I now have a triad shape that I can go up and down the guitar with. Wherever I go, the triad shape that I'm grabbing here, this F major formation, I'm going to call it a formation. It's named after the note I'm squeezing at this skinny string. The skinny string 1st fret is the note F. That's one way to confirm that this is an F chord. That's how it works for this formation. So if I know that 8 on the 1st string is the note C, then I know that that's a C formation. 8, 8, 9, 10. I know that's a C chord. I should say it's the F formation, but up high at the 8th, 9th, and 10th fret, so the name is C. So the F formation is a good triad formation to be, good at, and then to be comfortable moving around the neck. Notice the fret spacing gets smaller, so you got to scrunch your fingers a little bit closer as you get higher and higher up. Okay, F, D, A. D is another one. In the case of D, I want you to only focus on the 3 you're touching. Okay, but that's another good grip. It happens that the root note for a D chord is the 2nd string note. 2nd string, 3rd fret is the note D. That confirms that this is a D chord. I go up 2 frets. My ring finger is now on the 2nd string 5. That's note E, and that's an E chord. By the way, getting back to the F for a second, triad. Clearly the triad term suggests that we're talking about 3 notes, triad, right? 3 notes, but I'm grabbing 4 strings when I do the F. 2 of the notes have the same name. My ring finger is on the 4th string, 3rd fret. That's the note F. Let's call that low F for the moment. My skinny string 1st fret note is a high F. So I would still call that an F major triad because it is an F major triad. It's just that one of the notes, in this case, the root note F, we're playing a low version and a high version. Doesn't change the fact that it's still a triad. It's known as a triad that we're giving the world. We're giving them an F major triad. Okay, F, D, A. For the A, you got some options. Let's do the rock and roll A. 1 finger clamping down hard at the 2nd fret. I'm only going to strum the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. And that's an A chord. I'm ignoring the skinny string altogether. My skin is touching the skinny string, but I'm not strumming it. In fact, I'm trying to angle my index finger just right so that it's muting the skinny string without squeezing hard enough that it produces a sound. I don't want that sound from the skinny string, not when I'm doing this. Okay, so that's an A major triad with 1 finger. Doesn't get better than that. Up 2 frets, it's a B major triad. Up 1 more fret at 5, it's a C major triad. So there's 3 major triads, 3 major shapes or formations. I highly recommend the F, the D, and that 1 finger A. The D focuses on the 3 skinny strings, the F focuses on the 4 skinny strings, and the A focuses your attention on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. And you can do the same thing with some minor chords. Let's talk about A minor, but only strum the ones you're touching. Now you have a 3-note major minor triad formation. And you can move that up and down the neck as high as you want. All those are legitimate minor chords as long as you're careful to only strum the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. How about D minor? That's a really important minor triad formation. A D minor chord, only strum the 3 skinny strings. And you have every minor chord you could ever need somewhere on the neck, right? In the case of D minor, the root note, again, is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. That's note D. So you need to know the name of every note on the 2nd string, or be able to figure out the name of every note on the 2nd string if you wanted to move that grip up to appropriate places. If someone said, hey, slide up until it's a B flat minor, slide up until it's an F minor, whatever, you would need to know the names of the notes on the 2nd string or be able to figure them out. F minor. Ooh, gotta love this. I'm making a bar at the 1st fret on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. That is an F minor chord. So, I mean, that's a pretty easy minor triad formation. 3 skinny strings, 1 bar. You could do it with 3 separate fingers, but don't. It's not worth it. It's just, it's easier just to grab it with 1 finger and get your thumb right opposite that in case you're having any issues. Your thumb should be right opposite that finger pointing up towards the ceiling. And you've got a minor triad formation. You can take up and down the neck, only strum the 3 skinny strings. And in this case, the root note is on the 1st string. Whatever the name of the note is on the 1st string, that's the name of the minor chord. 1st fret, F. Therefore, that's an F minor. 3rd fret, G. Therefore, this is a G minor chord. For those of you listening, not watching, I'm making a little bar in the 3 treble strings, my index finger. There you go. Ryan is voting for John Denver. John Denver, Ryan, for one more song from him. Yeah. I grew up with a lot of John Denver. I listened to a lot of John Denver as a kid. Okay, so let's get back to my own dumb question of the week. I digressed. What's a good guitar goal to aim for? It's a dumb question, right? But no, it's a great question, although we're going to have a bunch of different answers. So feel free to jump in on the chat. Number 1, do you have a very specific, very clear goal that you're aiming for on the guitar? Not too general, not like to get better at the guitar, but something very specific, a specific song, a specific skill, the more specific, the better. Let us know in the chat. If I were to propose some good answers to my dumb question, what's a good guitar goal to shoot for? I'm gonna propose some pretty basic things that have a lot of value. You get a lot of bang for your buck. For instance, a 2-octave major scale played with down-up picking in a closed position. I'll explain everything in a second. Ooh, that's a really good goal to shoot for, right? I just played a G major scale in 2nd position, meaning I was playing 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. The position, by the way, is named after wherever the index finger needs to be. So because this scale I just played is full of 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, that would be known as 2nd position. So I played a G major scale in 2nd position. I played it as a closed scale, meaning no open strings. I played it with down-up picking. I have it memorized. I played it with a certain amount of confidence. That's a great goal. When you get to that point, you now have something you can move up and down the neck and play major scales up and down the neck as long as you have those skills lined up. The skills of down-up picking. You've memorized the finger pattern. That's a great goal. Will it blow everybody's minds? No, I know, but if you're good enough to do that and do it smooth and steady with confidence, down-up picking, moving to different places on the neck, but repeating the same finger pattern, in other words, playing major scales all up and down the neck, if you've got that, you've got a lot of skills together, you know. That's sure. Is that a good guitar goal? It's a great goal. How about the 16 most common chords as presented in the Guitar Year One? Check it out. The 16 most common chords. What page is this? Page 25, right? How about having all 16 of those sounding good and memorized? It's a great goal. You know, it's not a song, right? But that's what you need for all those songs you want to play. You need those 16 chords. Sooner or later, you're going to need all 16 of them. That's a great goal right there. What's another good guitar goal? How about a specific song, right? Sweet Home Alabama, Wish You Were Here, right? There's certain songs, I'm not saying they're easy, but there's certain songs that have a clarity about them that make them reasonable. Not easy, but, you know, you think, wait a minute, you know, Knock on Heaven's Door. I mean, there's something pretty reasonable about that, right? Free Fallin'. How about Free Fallin'? You guys know full well that we've done a whole bunch of these virtual play-alongs during the past dozens and dozens of these live streams. Starting around live stream number 19 or 20, give or take. We're on number 96 right now. So that's 70 plus songs. We've done one a week, sometimes two a week. That are relatively simple songs, you know, meaning they're understandable. Doesn't mean that you can master them in one moment, but, you know, they're understandable, they're doable. You could always go back. Oh, every once in a while I throw this up on the screen. I don't have an updated list, but in terms of good goals for the guitar, you could do worse. Let me find this list. Oh boy, it's buried so far down here. Okay, give me a moment here to make this a little bit smaller. I gotta make it a little bit smaller. Okay, this is gonna be too small, I know, but hang in there. You could do worse than, see that list of songs right there? I'm gonna make it bigger in a second. Okay, a little bit bigger. Any of those songs would be a great goal. Okay, see the number in parentheses next to each song title? That's which live stream featured that particular song, you know, and you can always check out the description of that live stream to know the exact moment where we did that song. Usually it's about halfway through the live stream. Okay, and I'm going to scroll up so you can see some of those others. So even though I'm proposing this as a dumb question, the question being, what's a good goal to aim for on the guitar? Here I am answering my own dumb question. Look at all those songs. And I've not updated this recently. So there's about, I don't know, at least 10 songs, if not 20 songs that are not reflected on this list. That's a great goal. Okay, how about, I'm going to stop sharing this. How about the goal of just being able to play with a friend, to know one song well enough that you can sit with another human being and play the song together? That's a great goal. That's a fantastic goal, you know? You could divide goals up into a few categories, one of which is playing a specific song note for note, or playing a specific song well enough, what I call the campfire version. That's a goal right there, right? Another thing could be a more general goal, like who did I see? Scott in the chat. Scott said, I want to be better at finger picking. I mean, that's general, but it's still pretty specific. I mean, it's, you know, you wake up in the morning, you know what you're going to focus on. You're going to focus on finger picking, you know. That's another category of goals that might be your category, to improve at general skills, but really important skills, you know. Ooh, a third category, how about improvising? That's on my list, to become someone who can just jump in on a song and start like soloing on top of the song because you're that good. And it could be a pop tune, it could be a blues tune, it could be a bluegrass tune, but you've got your skills together, you've got your ear, and you can just start playing along with that tune and sound like you know what you're doing. What a great goal, you know. Improvising, I mean, that's a whole different mindset, right? Okay, so there's Jonathan's dumb question of the week. What's a good goal to shoot for on the guitar? It's a dumb question. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, but I know many of you have some very specific stuff in mind. Static Zigzag says the strumming for "My Sweet Lord." Yeah, what a great song, "My Sweet Lord." And the B minor chord. Yeah, yep. I mean, that's really specific, right? But good. I mean, hey, the more specific your goals are, the better, right? With the understanding that you might have to adjust. Like maybe there's some song that you love so much and it's so hard. Okay, that's a good goal. You might have to have smaller steps that get you up there, right? Right, that would make sense, you know. So, hey, Bruce, I hope I answered your question then about triads, F, D, and A majors, and F, D, and A minors. Yeah, I think that's a healthy way to look at major triads up and down the neck. It's not the only way, but that's good. Rock Lobster says, "Hello, Mr. Songbike." Hello, Mr. Lobster. How are you, sir? Okay, so hey, let's do one of our play along songs. You do not need a capo. You need a guitar. Now, check this out. Again, the reason I chose this particular song. Before we get into the song, I'll show you the book it came from. So I was at the used bookstore. For those of you who live on the Connecticut shoreline, I'm talking about the Book Barn in Niantic, Connecticut, my favorite place. And this was one of several books that I got from the Book Barn. The book is called Folk Guitar Folk Song. Folk Guitar - Folk Song. 150 favorite songs and how to play them. Not the title didn't grab me. The author did, Jerry Silverman. Jerry Silverman, I think, wrote a lot of books. So I flipped it open. I saw, as promised, a whole bunch of folk songs, but he did something very cool, and I'm about to show you. And I chose this tune called "Ramblin' Around." You might know the song. If you don't know it, don't worry about a thing. You're going to learn it very, very quickly. Okay, here it comes on your screen. If your screen goes black, do not worry about a thing. Can I make this bigger? Do I want to make it bigger? Yeah, there we go. Okay. This is going to pop up on your screen right away, or maybe it already has popped up on your screen. I'm going to play the song all the way through for a moment just to get the tune in your head. Then we're going to talk about what he wants us to do and how he presents it. And then we'll play it again more slowly and more deliberately so you can insert the bass note runs. At the moment, I'm not going to do the bass note runs. I just want to get the tune in your head. The song goes, "Rambling round your city, rambling around your town. I never see a friend I know as I go rambling around, boys, as I go rambling around." And if you haven't heard that exact song, you've heard something pretty similar. It's a good old folk song. I assume that's Woody Guthrie. I know Woody Guthrie plays a song. I assume he wrote the tune. It has a lot of verses. We are going to stick with this verse right here because I want you to be able to see where the lyrics fit with the guitar parts. Okay. So here's something super important to know. The song is in waltz time, 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The reason that's significant is that for every measure, every box that you see there, you're going to do 3 things, only 3. It's possible you do 3 strums on a chord. The very beginning of the song, you see the chord name E above the word rambling. We're going to strum E 3 times, 3 downstrokes. 1, a little loud. 1, 2, 3. Okay. No matter what, though, every measure is only going to be 3 things, and it could be 3 nice, easy chord strums. Great. We love that. You can't go wrong. But measure 2, take a look at measure 2. See how it says 4/2, 4/1, and so on? that is going to be the bass note run that's going to connect you from the E chord you started on to the B7 chord that's coming up next. I hope you guys know B7. You got to know your B7 chord. Middle finger, 5th string, 2nd fret. Index finger, 4th string, 1st fret. Ring finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret. Pinky, 1st skinny string, 2nd fret. Kind of wish he put a chord diagram right above that B7, but he's assuming that you know how to play that B7. Okay, if you don't know how to play B7 chord, do not worry. That won't stop you from learning from this play along. And you can always go back and work on your B7 chord. Okay, so 4/2. It means 4th skinny string, 2nd fret, followed by 4th skinny string, 1st fret. See his teaching method? Followed by 5th string, 4th fret, followed by 5th string, 2nd fret. A nice little bass note walk down. What that does, literally, it connects an E major chord to a B7 chord. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the first 3 measures slowly. First thing, 3 strums and an E chord. 1, 2, 3. Here comes the walk down. My ring finger's already on the right note. 4th string, 2nd fret. Remember I said in every measure, 3 things are going to happen? That last measure I just played, the first thing was the 5th string, 2nd fret. I did it with my middle finger so that the next 2 things in that measure could be strumming the B7 chord. 3 things per measure. Okay, here comes the first 3 measures one more time. Slowly. 3 strums on an E major chord. 1, 2, 3. Now, playing this and singing at the same time is a little, I don't expect you to do that. If you can, great. But right at the moment, you are the guitar player. Don't worry about the singing. If you can sing and do it at the same time, hey, man, you get a gold star for that. But that is not your job at the moment. Your first job is getting kind of a grip on how he's presenting these bass note runs. So is everybody okay with this idea? 4th string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 1st fret. You're playing single notes, okay? It's a nice little, think of stairs going down. Right? La, 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 la. Just so you know, at the end of line 1, he reverses it into line 2. It's the same stairs. You're going up the stairs this time, okay? Is everybody okay on his system? I thought it was a pretty cool system. Up above the 4/2, 4/1 is the note written in standard music notation. You don't have to read that. That's okay. This page here is not really about reading music. It is about knowing that you're going to do 3 things per measure. Remember, measures those little boxes, right? 3 things per measure. Either a chord that you're strumming. I would recommend all downstrokes. In fact, do downstrokes for everything in this song. Second thing, the measure could be filled up with a bass note run. Or it could be a bass note run note plus a few more strums. How's that sound? Pretty good? Some of you are very familiar with bass note runs and you're looking at this like, yep, I got this. Many of you have asked me about bass note runs, either here in the chat or in our private lessons. So I thought I would grab this because, he's often I say to people, I can show you how to do some bass note runs, but there's so many mathematical possibilities with bass note runs. You want to understand the basic concept and get good at some of the basic bass note runs, and then keep your eyes open for opportunities to do more. Use your imagination for how you can connect other chords with bass note runs. But there's no one, the encyclopedia of bass note runs. But this book actually does a pretty good job of preparing us, including showing us sort of the timing. Okay, so I'm going to play through this song super slowly with the bass note runs, and then we'll take a breath, and then we'll do it for real as a play along. Okay, so super slowly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Rambling round your city, rambling around your town. I never see a friend I know as I go rambling round, boys, as I go rambling round. What do you think? Doable? Remember, for those of you who cannot play that perfectly right this second, great. Now you have a project, Pretty appealing folk tune here. Like I said, it has a lot of verses. We're going to focus just on this verse. It sounds fine slow. There's no pressure to go fast. As usual, your challenge is smooth, right? Smooth and easy. Okay, so I'm going to wet my whistle. In less than 60 seconds, we're going to do this a little bit faster, and we're going to repeat it a couple of times. And that will be our official play along number 1 of the night. Okay, you ready? Always check your tuning, always. You might think you're in tune, and you might be. But, never hurts to do a quick check. Just to be on the safe side. What's the rush, right? Playing in tune is always the right choice. There we go. Okay. Let's do this. I will see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3. Rambling round your city, rambling round your town. I never see a friend I know as I go rambling round, boys, as I go rambling round. Rambling round your city, rambling round your town. I never see a friend I know as I go rambling round, boys, as I go rambling round. Rambling round your city, rambling round your town. I never see a friend I know as I go rambling round, boy, as I go rambling round. Got a little faster there at the end, right? Why not? Push yourself. It's something I've been talking about with a bunch of people recently. You got to push yourself to go faster. You want to have a train wreck. You want to mess up, right? That's proof that you're pushing yourself. I've had a few students over the years who find their comfort zone, and they love their comfort zone, and they stay there constantly, always. That's their place. And I get that, but you got to push yourself, right? Make a mistake. Okay, now you know. And why did you make the mistake? Because you're going too fast. It has nothing to do with anything beyond that, but you want to find that point, back it down a little bit and then get faster again. Okay, so what do you guys think? I realize that this presentation is asking you to read music in a sense, right? I mean, all those 6-4, 5-0, you got to keep your eyes open. Hey, speaking of which, take a look at the end of line 2, where the lyrics are, a friend I know as. Okay, the last measure, the last box of line 2, it says 5/0, and then there's a little slash mark in the tab, and then it says 5/1. At that moment, we know we're on an A chord. How do we know that? From the previous measure above the word friend, there's a big capital A. Okay, so my fretting hand is fretting an A chord, but it's going to stay there. It's not going to move. But at the moment, I'm being asked, where it says 5/0 under the word no, I'm being asked to pluck just that one note. That slash mark means a light strum on the A chord. Okay? Those slash marks are beautiful things. They communicate a very simple task. Strum whatever chord you're being told to play. Followed by 5/1, 5th string, 1st fret. I'm going to use my index finger. So just to make it totally clear, that measure in slow motion sounds like this. I know that sounds like a wrong note, but it leads to the right note of the next measure. Okay, so that's what those slash marks indicate. Some measures have nothing in them. Take a look at the very first measure of the whole song. Has nothing there. Great. That's going to be 3 steady strums on the E major chord. Do I wish he put 3 slash marks there? I do. I do. But okay, again, he's assuming a certain level of knowledge and experience right there. All right, thoughts about this? Any thoughts or concerns about this? Again, it's not about how well you're playing it tonight. It's about, seeing this as a reasonable challenge. And again, before long, I will upload this PDF onto my website. And we're going to do one more song like this in a little while. A similar concept, though. Okay? All right, you guys. I bet you sounded great. All right, so I'm looking for what you guys are talking about in the chat. Bruce says, guitar goal, improve at improvisation. Yep. How does one improve at improvising? Work on your scales and arpeggios in terms of making your fretting fingers fast, confident, and also giving you just melodic ideas for soloing. That's a great idea. Making sure anytime you're working on arpeggios and scales that you're doing down up picking with your picking hand. A couple of tips, Bruce, that I give myself constantly about improvising. Play 3, 4, 5 notes and then stop. Let a couple beats go by. A few notes, stop. It's not a good habit to make to play and play and play and play. So space, right? Space. Leave a little space. Takes a little discipline. Another great thing that I play better when I remember to do it. Hum what you're playing. I'm going to use the word hum instead of sing, because some people, as soon as they hear the word sing, that they get stressed. I can't sing. I don't. What are you talking about? I'm not a singer. Let's call it humming or vocalizing quietly, but do that with every note you play. You'll play less, but it will mean more. You're less likely to do something dumb, such as right? Too much. What did I just say? I don't even remember that I said nothing just then, right? If you can hum, vocalize, it can be as quiet as you want. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't even have to be accurate. I'm not talking about how well you can match the pitch you're playing, although that's cool too. I'm just talking about engaging your breath, engaging your breathing. You're more likely to play interesting phrases and not get lost playing every note of the scale just because you can, Do that do that do 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 do. John Cavallo saying, yeah, is that a minor scale? Yeah, I'm just doing the the classic. I'm doing an A minor pentatonic from the fat string, 5/8, 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8. So, Bruce, those are some things that come to mind, you know. And when I remind myself of those two things, you know, play a few notes, wait, play a few notes, wait, like listen to what I'm doing, listen to the song, whatever I'm playing along with, listen to all that stuff. Uh, I play better when I hum along a little bit. I play better, you know. I'm more engaged. Yeah. Other things include all those YouTube backing tracks. Oh, you guys, there's so many YouTube backing tracks, you know, that just are waiting for someone to improvise lead guitar on top of. Let's say you know one scale, like that A minor pentatonic I was just doing. Go to YouTube. You might have heard of it, YouTube. Type in backing track A minor. You know, you're going to have dozens and dozens to choose from. I recommend choosing a slower one because slow songs just, they dampen down the stress level a little bit. And then play along, man, play along. But remember, it's not about, do you know the scale? Although, yes, you should know, yeah, you should have it memorized. It's not about how fast you can go, although sure, it's fun to play fast. It's about, are you listening to yourself with one ear and to the backing track with the other ear? I can't think of a better way to describe it. You have to be equally aware of both things. You know, the backing track, they're going to change to some other chord. You should 100% be able to recognize that right away. The band was, you know, okay. And then all of a sudden, you should be very aware of that. If you were just listening in the car, you'd hear that, right? In the heat of the moment, as you're soloing doing stuff, you want to make sure that you still have one ear on the background, on your band, man. Listening is far more important than anything else. It really is. You know, you want your ear to be improving and improving and improving constantly. An example of how your ear is improving is hearing chord changes. Yep, that's one of them. But also realizing that the note that you're playing, maybe it sounds great with a chord that the band just changed to, so you can hit that note a few more times. Or the note you're playing when the band changed the next chord maybe doesn't fit that chord too well. Grab a nearby note. Chances are the nearby note, when I say nearby, I mean within the scale, right? Just a note, you know, ahead of or behind that note you're playing. It's realistic that that other note will sound great with the chord the band just changed to. You'll only know if you're listening, right? Yeah. Barry says, Jonathan, you're the only teacher that reminds me how fun playing guitar is. I take that as a big compliment. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope every guitar teacher out there still thinks it's fun. I got burned out making YouTube videos for a while. I'm still semi-burned out from making YouTube. I enjoy this so much, what we're all doing right here, you guys. I would, if I would do this every day if I had time and if it financially made sense, you know. But I got a little bit burned out from making YouTube videos. But playing the guitar, you know what it was. Oh, this is going to sound. I know how this is going to sound. When I realized I'd been teaching guitar for just about 30 years, I thought, man, I'm going to get myself like a sweet guitar to celebrate teaching for 30 years. And that got me really pumped up. That kind of got me out of my rut. I was thinking about every instrument under the sun except guitar. I was like, man, I was still teaching guitar, but I made, long story short, I made 400 YouTube videos in 400 days. It's a bad idea. What was I thinking? And let me tell you, on day 401, I had a different relationship with, with life. And so but then a little time went by and I something about, this guitar, man. I was like, man, I'm gonna get a custom guitar. And I hate to say like it sounds very materialistic, right? But I don't know, it worked for me. I was like, you know what, man, that's pretty exciting, man. I'm going to pick out a guitar. I'm going to spec it out and, and that got me re-engaged with the guitar again. I know how that sounds. I'm sorry. I know it should be something like I went to the top of a mountain and that's for me, for me shopping for a custom guitar. That got me back engaged with the instrument. I don't know. Hey, Ethan, thank you for checking in. I've known Ethan for quite a while, and Ethan, Cheryl is probably watching Ethan, so she knows you're there. But just in case, I'll pass on your greetings to her. Hey, Chaz, thank you for your super chat donation. I appreciate that. You guys, full disclosure, I have one problem in my life, and only one problem at the moment. I moved to this new location, new Wi-Fi, which is working great as far as I can tell. I can't get my printer to hook up to the new Wi-Fi, and I've tried everything. Well, no, I've tried everything but the one thing that works. I found a cable to plug directly into my computer, and that hasn't worked either. Maybe the cable is bad, but I mean, I thought at a minimum that would be like, well, you can all just plug into the computer like old school, right? And you could print that way, and that didn't work. So I have a buddy who fixes stuff like this, and he's going to come in and sort me out. But oh man, make me crazy, because a lot of the stuff that I teach on a regular basis, I have it on my computer, click on print, I print it out, I can give a student a copy, life is good. And at the moment, that's my number one issue. And I'm laughing because it's what we call in my house a first world problem. I get it. And yet it sucks. What the heck? How hard could it be, man? How hard could it be? Yeah, it will be resolved. At this point, the quickest thing for me to do would be go down the block, buy a new printer for $100. I don't need anything fancy. And I'd be up and running in half an hour. I'm just too stubborn to do that. But that would solve the problem. But Poopa John has a great question. Is there a way to learn what key a song is in by ear? Yes. It involves trial and error. But remember, I've always said for many live streams out, those are your two best friends, trial and error. But even with trial and error, you still have to be able to hear and confirm, like, wait, that's the key the song is in. And I'm better at it than I used to be, but there'll be still moments. There still will be moments where I can't figure out what key the song is in, and it's not because the song is super complicated. It's as if well, what I want to believe, I've gone a little maybe I've just been playing a lot of music all day long, and my ear is like done. My ear needs a break, and that's my excuse. But for those of you who have had mixed results in figuring out what key a song is in by ear, I get it. So Poopa John, what I can tell you is my method often involves using only the fat sixth string and slowly and deliberately playing every note on the fat string, sometimes in order, sometimes not, until I find the note on the bass string, the sixth E string, till I find the note that, what's the feeling? The note that feels like home for that song. Now, it's the root note. It's the note that also is the key that we're in. It's the same name as the key we're in. But the feeling I get is that feeling of being home, that feeling of that note. It's a very comforting kind of sound. Sometimes I'll find a note that's almost that. I'll want it to be that note. I say, oh, I think that's it. But deep down, I know, nope, it's not quite it. Now you talked specifically about learning it by ear, so that I'm answering the question that you asked. Other ways of figuring out what key a song is in: find the chords to the song, confirm that there's no capo involved, because that's going to mess you up. So assuming the song has no capo, it's extremely likely that the name of the first chord is also the name of the key you're in. Not 100% of the time, but it's a really good guess. Another thing is if by some chance you know the last chord of the tune, if the tune actually has a proper ending, you know, that kind of ending, right, where you can just feel the whole song, the last chord is definitely the key you're in. Those are good tips. Are there exceptions? Oh yeah, a song can change key halfway through. Why? Because it can, you know. What, you know, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers, right? Written by Willie Nelson. We did The Gambler in one of our live streams a little while ago. Halfway through, it goes up a half step. The whole song goes up a fret. Oh, well, what key is it in? Well, it depends which half of the song you're talking about, you know. And yeah, once Charlie Beagler's talking about, you know, if the song has a capo on it, it's no big deal. But if this is not learning it by ear. This is if you went to Ultimate Guitar and they tell you what the chords are, but it also says capo 3rd fret, then the names of the chords are not directly helpful in the way I'm talking about. You'd have to do a little math in your head, like, well, it's a capo on the 3rd fret, but the first chord is a G chord, but it's not that it's G capoed up 3 frets, and you'd have to do a little musical math in your head. It's totally doable. Anyways, your questions by doing it by ear. Yeah, I recommend the fat 6-string, trial and error, and seeing how that goes. With the understanding that some songs are just plain easier than others. A 3-chord folk tune, country tune, bluegrass. If a tune sounds kind of simple in general, it doesn't sound too harmonically intense, you're going to have more success. An oddball Steely Dan, you guys know I always use Steely Dan as an example. You know, there are plenty of oddball tunes out there that are, they've got some complexity to the harmonies, the chords, and you might have less luck with those. But if you're going for success, easier success, yeah, folk tunes, folk, bluegrass, country, you know, harmonically, they're typically simpler tunes, and you're more likely to arrive at the right key quicker. You know, it's a great question, though, Pooper John. Static Zigzag says, I'm glad you're here. Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here too. It was a nice week. I'm not sure. You know, they say the road to a man's heart is through his stomach. My new landlord, the gentleman who he and his family own the restaurant next door, he saw me. Maybe he felt sorry for me eating my peanut butter sandwich on my computer. He just knocked on the door, came in with a slice of pizza. I almost cried. It was just such a nice thing, man. How cool is that? And that's my new landlord. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, speaking of deliciousness, the cider is back. Last week I went to the store and they didn't have these cute small bottles of cider, so I had to improvise. All right. What did I get at the used bookstore? Hey, check it out. I can't tell you how happy this makes me. Although if you've seen any of these live streams, you know this is such a happy moment. What I get this a couple of days ago, not the first edition, but the second edition of Stevie Ray Vaughan, Lightning Blues, 1983, 1987. The recorded versions, authentic transcriptions. This is from good old Hal Leonard. A $28 book. What did I pay? $5. $5, man. This is the note for note, every little subtle thing Stevie Ray Vaughan did on how many tunes? Easily 20 tunes. Music transcriptions by Jesse Gress. I want to meet Jesse Gress someday because I'm sure I've done a lot of his transcriptions. There's some people whose names I come across, like I have come across for like a few decades now. I'm like, oh, Jesse Gress. So here's a question for you. If you're the guy who transcribed 2025 Stevie Ray Vaughan songs, and you're the one who listened to them and wrote down note for note, excruciating detail, you got to be a really good guitar player. And by the time you're done with it, you've got to be a great guitar player, right? Holy moly. $5, my friends. Okay, what else did I get? Also from the Hal Leonard Publishing Company, Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits. This is part of this series they call Hal Leonard Guitar Play Along. This particular one is volume 47, 12 songs with tab, of course. And it was marketed with a CD, but the CD must have got lost somewhere. Although presumably the CD has a sound-alike CD tracks, but you could also just listen to the Jimi Hendrix tracks. 12 songs. Okay, they wanted $18 when the publisher wanted 18. Jonathan's price $4. $4. It's I feel almost guilty. I mean, a book like this would keep you busy for the rest of your life. Makes me so happy. So I got those 2 books, and then we just did Rambling Round from this book from Jerry Silverman. This book goes back to 1977. Hey, what I wanted to tell you about this book, 1977, a small publisher that I personally am not aware of, Scarborough House, out of New York. $7. Like, wait a minute. How could Stevie Ray Vaughan be $5 and they're going for $7? I don't know where they came up with this price, man. $7, worth double that price. But oh, come on, man, $7. Now wait a minute, worth it, 100% worth it. I'm just a little surprised it was $7. But his sales pitch, by the way, Jerry Silverman, I'm the kind of guy who reads the introduction, like reads where the author is coming from, is long story short, he shows you the strum patterns. It's not lyrics and chords, lyrics, chords, plus how to strum those chords that's appropriate to that specific song. And of course, that's how you do it, right? That's you can't just show some of the lyrics and the chords. You got to show people how to start. And what we did today was from chapter 1, the bass runs in major keys section. Very cool. Jerry Silverman, another name I've heard for many, many years. Joseph, I see your point. Charlie, I see your question. Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm going to start, Charlie, with your question, and Joseph, it kind of ties in with your question. If there's a capo involved, how do you know what the key is? And yeah, we'll talk about that. And then Joseph asked basically the same thing. Give us the math formula to know what keys with a capo. Okay, what I'm going to do here is, you know what? I can do this quick and easy. I like this already. What we're about to do is not complicated. It does involve being patient with yourself, involves a little memorization, but that's it. It's a skill that I like to call a finite skill, meaning it's not tons and tons of information. It's some information. So bear with me here. What I'm about to put in front of you is a crucial piece of information that you cannot live without, the musical alphabet. And I'm going to present it clearly, but it's going to require you guys to take a breath, because I'm answering the question that was asked, and it's a very good question. The capo, how do you figure out what's going on? Okay. Dot. Okay, wait for it. This will be up in front of you momentarily. I'm just going to, often I would do this with blank paper and a big black Sharpie. But this is an equally fast way to do it. Okay, here it comes. This is going to be pretty straightforward, I think. Okay, again, if your screen goes black, do not worry at all, but you should see, or you will see, a page in front of you that says musical alphabet. It's the ABCs. It's the ABCs of music. And it is just that. It's the ABCs, with the understanding that in between letters like A and B, there's one more sound. And the name of that sound seems complicated, but it's not. So everybody see that? Okay, the musical alphabet right there. I mean, this is almost the entire answer to your question, is that right there. Okay, so I'm going to read what that says, not because you can't read, but because it's going to help you to hear the names of those things. Okay, the first note of the music alphabet, A. Second note, A sharp, also known as B flat. Third note, B. Fourth note, C. Next comes C sharp, also known as D flat. Then comes D. Next comes D sharp, also known as E flat. Then comes E, then comes F, then comes F sharp, also known as G flat, G, G sharp, also known as A flat. Then we're back on that A again. Like we started on A, remember? And then if we were to keep going, following the pattern, the next note would have to be A sharp slash B flat, because just like at the beginning, that's the next note after A. I put dot, dot, dot at the beginning and the end, because you could say the music alphabet goes on forever to the point where the human ear can no longer hear sounds that low or that high. Ooh, which we'll talk about. Ooh, we got to get to that. Frequencies. Okay. So there's your musical alphabet. Do not be freaked out by the sharp flat notes. Don't be freaked out by the fact that one note can have two names. A sharp could also be called B flat. Just accept it. Don't overthink it. On the piano, those are the black keys. That's a beautiful thing, because that means that you have a handle on the names of the black keys. Even before you do anything, you know the black keys are the ones with the sharp flat names. On the guitar, as you know, everything looks alike. How do you know if it's a sharp or flat? You don't know. You're not supposed to know. You'd have to figure it out, right? That's okay. Okay. The distance between each one of those notes is a half step, which you and I call one fret. Every fret on the guitar is a half step. That's the musical distance, right? When your ear hears the third fret, and then here's a note on the fourth fret, that sound, we call that a half step. We also call it a 3 going to a 4. We call it going up one fret. Literally, I'm playing the skinny string 3 going to 4. 3 is the note G. 4, the fourth fret, is the note we could call it G sharp or A flat. Okay, so now let's answer the point that Charlie and Joseph are raising. The capo takes whatever key the song would have been in without the capo and moves it up a half step for every fret up the neck that you capo. And I have my capo Andy right here. So let's use that. Let's use Free Fallin' as an example. Good old Free Fallin', good old Tom Petty. Hey, don't forget, speaking of Tom Petty, our poll question of the night: if you could hear one more song from a performer who's no longer with us, who would that performer be? So far, we've heard about David Bowie and Christine McVie and Prince and okay, so we're about to talk about the key that Free Fallin' is actually in. It's not in the key of D, even though the first chord is a D chord. It's a good guess, but Tom Petty capoed up his guitar for that song. So if I told you that Free Fallin' starts in a D chord, D is in delta, but it has a capo on the third fret. And not coincidentally, the first chord is the key that we're in. So Free Fallin', you might say, oh, Jonathan, you said Free Fallin' starts on D. Good guess, but it's D with a capo 3 frets up, 3 half steps. So take a look at that musical alphabet. Take a look at the note D in the musical alphabet. I want you to start in that note D and move forward 3 letters of the musical alphabet. Remember, D sharp and E flat, that only counts as 1, right? It's the same note. That will tell you the key that we're in. I'll say that again. Your left hand's playing, your fretting hand is playing a D chord, where it feels like a D chord, but because of the capo, we're not in the key of D for Free Fallin'. We're 3 frets higher, or 3 half steps higher than the key of D. So what key is Free Fallin' actually in? So you start on the letter D. Make 3 jumps. The first jump takes you to that D sharp E flat business. The second jump takes you to E, and the third jump takes you to F. Free Fallin' is in the key of F. It just doesn't feel like it to your fretting hand because you're not playing any F chords, not in the traditional sense, right? You okay with that? That's the math behind figuring out what key a song is in when there's a capo involved. The premise here is that you're pretty darn confident what key you'd be in if the capo wasn't involved. And I'm using the method at this moment that the very first chord is very likely to also be the key you're in, which is true in the case of Free Fallin'. How's that? Does that work for you guys? Let me know if that works for you. Because there it is. I mean, the musical alphabet, you'll see there's a pattern going on in the musical alphabet with two little exceptions. B and C have nothing in between them. On a piano, that's when you have two white keys with no black key in between. Same thing with E and F. Same deal. On the guitar, it's a free-for-all down there on the fretboard, right? Because I don't know, there's no colors down there. Every note is equal, right? In a way, that's a cool thing. But by the same token, piano players, the fact that those black keys are literally set apart, they're smaller, they're grouped together in certain ways. That makes it visually very understandable that those are the sharp/flat notes. So does that help you out there? I'm happy to review this stuff in the future, but there you go, the musical alphabet. Okay, hey, you know what? Charlie says, the pizzeria, was it my pizzeria of choice before you became his tenant? No, but not because it's not great pizza. It was one of several pizza places. I have emotional connections with different pizza places. I have some pizza places that I like the place next door so much that I never go to the place next door to that, because if I'm in that neighborhood, I'm going to go to the one I have the connection to, right? In this part of the country, we got, I don't want to say we have too much pizza, but there's a lot of pizza, man. That's all. So this was one of the places I went to for sure, for lots of reasons. Number one, good pizza. Number two, it was on my way home / to do stuff after work. This is one of the places I would go by. So, yeah. Joseph says that helps. That's been bothering me. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm always happy to go over this. In fact, if you guys, here's a hypothetical scenario that I would love to address. If you said, hey, I'm working on this song. Here's the 4 chords of the song, or the 5 chords, or the 3 chords, whatever. And there's also a capo at the 5th fret. So what key am I really in? I'd be happy to address that. Aside from just wanting to be a smart musical person, it's also good to know stuff like that so you can communicate to everyone else, especially the piano player and the bass player, instruments that don't use capos, right? To the extent that you're playing with other human beings, it's really possible you're playing with piano players and bass players. Here's a flip side of the scenario, and this actually goes back to the Tom Petty thing. What if it's the opposite? You're playing with another guitar player, they're playing with a capo, and you want to do something different that still fits. So here's the free falling connection. Well, Mr. Petty has a capo on the 3rd fret, and he was banging out the, right? Mike Campbell with no capo is going. Remember I said free falling is actually in the key of F because it's in the key of D, but capoed up 3 frets. What's Mike Campbell doing? F suspended, back to F to C major. Right, there you go. So you could be that guy. Someone else is playing with a capo, but you do a little math in your head and you realize, oh, I got it. I'm going to transpose the song and do it without a capo. How cool is that? There's talk about a good guitar goal. To be able to do that, oh man, what's better? It just shows that you are capable of processing a bunch of information, Charlie says, if you do a parody version of an existing song, can you copyright that as your own song? I have no idea. Yes, with the understanding that to the extent that you make any money, you'd be sharing that money with whoever owns the actual song. That's my that's to me that seems very likely. You'd have to make a lot of money to be on anyone's radar, right? But how much is a lot of money? I have no idea. So yeah. Okay. Hey, you guys, before I go too much further, here's a very cool thing that I want to present to you. Let me see if I can pull this up nice and easy. Okay. In the teaser to this week's live stream, I referred to, oh, what did I call it? Something like, where are we here? I called it music under the microscope. What did I mean by that? I thought you'd never ask. Okay, I hope this is simply one of many times we talk about this. Is that a good one to start with? Possibly. Hold on. This was inspired by talking with William Collier from Texas, who's actually not watching right at this moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if he watches this later. And he and I were doing a lesson, and he asked about, or he thought that this would be a cool topic. Okay, so I just barely scratched the surface. Music under the microscope is what I'm going to call this. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to make that nice and big. Don't go anywhere. Here it comes. I'm going to stop sharing that one. And instead, I'm going to share, hopefully, where is it? This one. Okay, now this is one of those moments where your screen might go black. I get it. It might not. Okay, take a look at that. I'm going to put a link in the description of this live stream, and that the link, it was a great link to great information. I think it led to this chart. I sure hope it did. Should I make this bigger? I bet I should make it bigger. Stand by. Your wish is my command. There we go. Ooh, that's big. All right. Can I scooch it down? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's it, baby. All right. Okay, so take a look at that. Ooh, pretty colors. Oh yeah, this musicguymixing.com. I have to admit, I have no idea who this person is, but I like how Music Guy Mixing presented this. And in the description of this live stream, I will put a link to where I got this from. And I wouldn't be surprised if Music Guy Mixing has a lot of other cool stuff like this. So what do you make of this diagram? Well, take a look at it. What we're talking about is what the human ear can hear. What we're talking about is assigning a number to each sound that we can make. See what's going on there? Below 80 hertz on the far left, that nice magenta. The human ear doesn't really recognize that as music, right? You know, below 80 hertz. Then way up high, the far right, that purple, 10,000 hertz. Inaudible, right? What we say, like maybe a dog could hear. And even see where it says just prior to that, 6,000 hertz on up, but we'd process that sound as like a sizzling air kind of sound, you know. Okay, so let's focus though on the middle, especially the dark blue part. There you go, the open E string, 82,000 hertz. Notice that we're getting to the point where the human ear, you know, you're running out of room there, right? A little bit lower, and I assume they're talking about the average human ear. It doesn't sound too much musical as you get. It doesn't sound too musical as you get much below that, right? Anybody ever play the bass? You know, as you get down to that low E string on a big bass guitar, those big fat long strings. Oh, it's, you know, getting kind of tough. So you can see how every string on your guitar has an assigned frequency. The open A string, 110 hertz, open D, 147, and so on. Interesting, right? Everything has a number. Raise your hand if you've heard of A440, that term A440, right? That means at some point, the world decided that the frequency of 440 hertz, we're going to call that A. An A below that, a lower A, would be half that frequency, 220 hertz. Below that, guess what? 110 hertz. And that's what you're looking at. The open A string, 110 hertz. What do you think? Kind of interesting, right? So this diagram here was created for guitar players to, you know, to have an awareness of, in a visual sort of way, in a scientific sort of way, that the sounds you're making. This wasn't the exact information I was looking for when I did a little dive and started searching for this. But I'll take it because it's so cool, so interesting. So I hope to do more along these lines, just to take 5 minutes and talk about this kind of stuff. What does science, call these musical sounds that we're hearing? And I love how this was aimed at guitar players, and you can see, whoever created this diagram, maybe it was music guy mixing, they're giving names for the higher frequencies: boxiness, presence, clarity, sparkle, as sounds get higher and higher. Anybody out there use your ears as you make a living? I mean, anybody out there in the hearing business or audio business, right? Yeah, Caddis, I know your point. Caddis is making a great point. The chart seems to be nonsense. It says anything below the low E string is inaudible or noise, like the bass guitar. Yes, excellent. So here's my question. Apparently, because you're making a great point, that low fat E on the bass guitar, it must, I assume, you guys could Google it. Someone could Google it right now. It must be still not as low as 80 hertz, according to this diagram, because you can hear that low E, you can hear it as a distinct note, unless you have hearing issues. So Caddis, that's what I'm guessing. Somebody Google it. Go for it. What is the frequency of the low E string on a bass guitar? And let us know in the chat. What would be super convenient if it's 81,000 hertz. I'm 81 hertz. That would be really convenient. 80.5, 80 point whatever. Because Caddis, I had the same thought that you did right there. Like, okay, so Caddis is saying the bass guitar E is around 41 hertz. Is that right? Yeah. So I'm still not going to dismiss this information, but that raised a good point. Like, well, wait a minute, So I'm not going to say this is nonsense. Well, for one thing, that fact that the open A is 110, that totally makes sense, because the next A high would be 220 and the next would be 440, because that's just how music works. So that part makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. Can anyone confirm that the frequency of the low E string is 41 hertz? Yes, Caddis, you're exactly right. Caddis, I was looking at it from the other point of view, doubling the frequency as you go higher, and you're talking about having it as you go lower. Oh, so I see what you're saying. You're saying mathematically, yeah, if the open guitar, 6-string guitar E is 82, then the bass, you'd imagine, be 41. Yeah. I see what you're saying now, mathematically. Yeah. I still think someone should Google it just to see, because it should say 41, right? Okay, but I'm still not ready to dismiss this, because I like the visual representation of it, But hey, let's consider this a starting point for this conversation. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Hey, you know what? We have a few minutes here. What about, I'm going to stop sharing this. Let's do our next song, man. Let's do it. Okay, we don't need this. We need this. You got your guitars handy? There you go. We need that. And we're going to share it from the same Jerry Silverman book with more bass note runs. There you go. The Bunny Ship, the Diamond. If some of you know this song, then you must be tickled. You must be thinking, holy cow, I didn't know we were going to do that song today. Those of you who don't know this song, it's a keeper. I think you're going to love it. Okay, I'm going to wet my whistle. Okay, same deal here. I'm going to play the song for you slowly without any bass note runs, just to get the tune in your head. Then we'll talk about it with the bass note runs, go through it slow and easy, and finally we'll do it for real, Okay, A minor to C, just like House of the Rising Sun. But that's where the exact chord progression stops. I want you to notice line 3. Excuse me 1 second. Towards the end of line 3 is a repeat sign, right where the word captain is. The bonny lasses round captain, and then there's a double dot, double line repeat sign that sends you back essentially to the beginning of the song where it says Thompson gives the order. Don't play right through that repeat sign. You got to remember to go back to the beginning again. In effect, you have played the first ending of the tune. Bonny lasses round captain. The next time through will be the second lyrics, the lower lyrics, and we will jump over that first ending to the second ending where you see the word sky. So that's at the end of line 3. First time through, you play the first ending. Second time through, you skip the first ending, you play the second ending. Why are those called the endings, even though they're not at the end of the song? I don't know. It's just a tradition. And then there's the chorus of the song. The chorus is only 2 chords, mostly A minor, but the chorus does have a nice, at the very last line, a nice back and forth. A minor to G, A minor to G, A minor to G to A minor. Okay, as promised, I'm about to play the tune just to get the nature of the tune in your brain. It's a sea shanty, arg. Okay, here we go. Oh, the diamond. The diamond is a ship, my lads, for the Davis Strait she's bound. And the kid is garnished with the bonny lasses round. Captain Thompson gives the order to sail the ocean wide, where the sun it never sets, my lad, no darkness dims the sky. So it's cheer up, me lads, if your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship, the diamond, goes a-fishing for the whale. Okay, it's a sea shanty, right? Poopa John, I see your question. Oh, your question is a good one in the context of this song. In terms of like A minor and C showing up in the same song. Yeah, I mean, A minor is known as the relative minor to the C chord. By the way, that's why switching from A minor to C is pretty easy. Okay, yeah, we'll get to your question, Poopa John. Okay, the diamond is a ship, my lads. So a nice minor key, sea shanty kind of song. No F chords, no bar chords. You can see why this song made the cut. Okay, again, from this Jerry Silverman book called Folk Guitar - Folk Song. Okay, so take a look. A lot of bass note runs or just individual bass notes. So the song starts off right under the word diamond. By the way, you should be grabbing an A minor chord, right? The very first thing we're going to do, if we're following his exact presentation of the song, we're going to grab the A minor chord, but we're going to hit the 5th string open. Remember, the 6th string is the fattest one, right? Biggest number, biggest string. The 1st string is the little skinny string, right? Just so keep you all oriented. 1st string, number 1, is the littlest one. 6th string is the biggest one. Remember that forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, 5th string open. See that slash mark? Just a light brush on the A minor chord. And right away, we're into our first bass note run. 5th string open, 5th string 2nd fret, 5th string 3rd fret. And if you use your ring finger, it sets you up for the C chord. See up above the word ship? We're in the world of C now. That slash mark where I just left off, give the C chord a little strum. We're back to the bass note run. We're just going to work our way back down, reverse the exact thing that we did. We're back in the world of A minor. How do I know that? Because above the word Davis, there's an A minor name. So that slash mark represents a little light A minor strum. Here's a bass note run that's going to connect the A minor to the next chord, E minor. 6th string 3rd fret, 6th string 2nd fret, 6th string 0. A nice little E minor strum. 6th string 2nd fret, 6th string 3rd fret, 5th string 0. Ring a bell, right? A bunch of things that you're about to do are the same bass note runs, either ascending or descending, right? But if they seem kind of familiar, yeah. We're at the end of line 2. We have an A minor chord, 5th string open, right above, right below the word key or the word sun. Strum, 5th string open, 5th string, 2nd fret. This is the very end of line 2. We're about to go on to the first note of line 3. What is it? 5th string, 3rd fret. Now, in case you missed the first time we did this, I don't know, an hour ago, that these indications that say like 5/3 means 5th string, 3rd fret. We're back in the world of C major. I'm going to strum my C major chord. How do I know to strum that C major chord? Because of that little slash mark right under the word my when it says my lad there in line 3. Okay, the bass note runs keep coming at us. 6th note, 6th string, 3rd fret, 6th string, 2nd fret, 6th string, 0. Watch out now. We're on the E7 chord. And because it's an E7, the bass note run is going to add one interesting note. It's not the 6th string, 2nd fret. It's the next one, 6th string, 4th fret. And then we're back to the 5th string, 0. Do you remember me saying that that on the first tune we did, every measure involved 3 things, right? It could be 3 strums on just a chord, just regular strumming. It could involve 3 bass notes, but 3 things are going to happen. In the case of this song, it's 4. Okay, 4 things are going to happen. So where we just left off, sort of in the middle of line 3, right under the word round, 5th string open. Remember, 4 things are going to happen per measure. The first thing is the 5th string open. The remaining 3 are going to be nice light strums on the A minor chord. Do I wish he put 3 slash marks there? I do. But he's kind of hoping you know that. We repeat back essentially to the beginning of the tune and do it all again. The second ending where it says sky, so it's, this is at the end of line 3, sky, so it's, even though the lyrics are different, the physical thing you do on the guitar is the exact same. 5th string open with 2 strums on the A minor chord, or sorry, 3 strums on the A minor chord to 1, 2, 3 to finish off the measure. Now, the last 2 lines, the chorus of the song, guess what? You're off the hook. No more bass note runs. Cheer up, my lads. Let your hearts never fail. While the bonny ship, the diamond goes searching for the whale. I'm doing some nice quick, not too quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 nice little light downstrokes per measure. If there's an A minor in G in the same measure, it would be 2 A minors and 2 Gs. But like the rest of that line, what's this, line 4, is all A minors. Let your hearts never fail. Right? 4 A minor strums per measure. While the last line, bonny ship, the diamond goes fishing for the whale. Okay, so that last line, a lot of A minor and G back and forth. Guess what? It's an opportunity for me to remind you that you should do G with your middle ring and pinky, because that makes getting to the A minor, getting from the A minor to the G back and forth so much easier. A minor twice, G twice, A minor twice, G twice, A minor, G, and you end up in the A minor. Do you have to do G that way? You do not. Many of you are most comfortable doing G with your index, middle, and ring. You can do that. But it's so dorky. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's worth putting some time in and learning to play the exact same notes, but with your middle and ring on the 2 bass strings and your pinky on the 1st string. If you feel that it's impossible, I laugh, because many students over the years have told me it's impossible, and then they end up doing it just fine with a little bit of practice. Okay, let's try this out. Let's do it. This is a little bit trickier for me to sing and play at the same time. We'll see what happens. I can do it. You're the first responders out there doing their thing. Okay. We'll see what happens. Can I make this a little bit bigger? Because that would help me out. But if I get too big, well, nope, can't do it. I want you guys to be able to see the whole thing. Okay. I'm going to squint. That's all right. I'll see you on the other side. Oh, the diamond is a ship, my lads, for the Davis Strait she's bound. And the kid is all garnished with the bonny lasses round. Captain Thompson gives the order to sail the ocean wide, where the sun it never sets, my lad, no darkness dims the sky. So it's cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship, the Diamond, goes a-fishing for the whale. We're going to do it again. Here comes from the top. Oh, the Diamond is a ship, my lads, for the Davis Strait she's bound, where the kid is all garnished with the bonny lasses round. Captain Thompson gives the order to sail the ocean wide, where the sun it never sets, my lad, no darkness dims the sky. So it's cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship, the Diamond, goes a-fishing for the whale. All right, so here's a question for you. How come those last two lines don't have any bass note runs? I mean, what the heck? I thought this is all about bass note runs all over the place. Why no bass note runs on those last two lines? Take a wild guess. There's a lot going on in this, right? Again, I don't mind repeating myself. I don't expect everybody to play that perfectly on your first try, right? Number one, it's my hope is that you see the concept going on here. The first three lines are full of bass note runs that serve one main purpose, which is to connect the chords in a creative way, right? Anything is better than just banging out the chords. I know, because I was that guy who would just bang out the chords and didn't understand that there was, well, I knew there was more to it than that. I just didn't know. I didn't know what you did. And I would hear people do things like bass note runs. And I think, how did he know that that would work? I don't know. What just happened right there, right? And like I said, when we did our first tune of the night from the same book, I kind of get a kick out of how our friend Jerry Silverman presented the bass note runs in a very numerical way. 5/0 means fifth string open. 5/2 means fifth string second fret, and so on. So the reason why there are no bass note runs in the last two lines, the chord changing is too fast. A minor, G, A minor. I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's not worth the effort. Two strums on A minor, two strums on G, back to A minor again. I'm talking about line 4. Cheer up, my lads. Cheer, cheer up, my lads. We don't need a bass note run there, right? The chord change is so quick, it's fine. And then the last line for sure. Bonny ship, the Diamond, goes a-fishing for the whale. The chord changes are so frequent. The only reason to do bass note runs in there is supposed to be to show off a little bit. I don't know. It's not necessary. Whereas the first three lines, yeah, there's room to strum a chord, bass note run, those strum a chord, and so on. Okay, so you guys, we've never done anything quite like this before. What do you think? There's as a one-time kind of one live stream kind of thing. Does this presentation work for you? I'd like to know if this is totally foreign and you have no idea what just happened, and you went to go wet your whistle because this makes no sense, or if this is super easy peasy and you're like, dude, move on, move on. Or if you fall somewhere in between, I'm super curious. As a teacher, I like how this is presented, although presenting it to you guys is a different experience for me because I can't see you and I can't hear what you're doing, and you can't ask me a question the way you might like to ask a teacher a question. Although you're welcome to put it in the chat, that'd be great. But it's nothing like being in the same room with the person. Okay, hey, at a minimum, you now know a couple new folk songs. In case you missed it, about an hour ago, give or take, a little more, we did Ramblin' Round, and now we just did The Bunny, Ship the Diamond. Okay. Chaz says, it's helpful to me. I like that book. Chaz, I hope it's still in print. My guess is that it's definitely not in print. But I'll say this, unless I get, a cease and desist order, the 2 pages I showed you, I am going to put those on my website. And I'm happy to give Mr. Silverman credit that he deserves. Hey, keep your eyes open for anything that he's written. I believe his catalog tends to be folk stuff, acoustic, folky kind of stuff. On the back cover, they're talking about other books he had written at this moment, which included How to Play the Guitar by Jerry Silverman and Beginning the Folk Guitar by Jerry Silverman. Anyways, 150 folk tunes, very cool. So there you go. Remember, what caught my eye was the bass note runs, because as a group here, we have talked about bass note runs a bit. And Randy says, I like the bass note runs, really helpful. So getting back to Pooba John's question, I see, Caddis, you're addressing it too. Pooba John had asked, what's the meaning of a chord being a relative minor? And then Caddis says that, Caddis, I'm just reading your thing. Well, Caddis, you're right, but a chord can be described as like a relative minor. At least I certainly say it that way. I say, A minor, the A minor chord is the relative minor to the C major chord. And I'm pretty comfortable saying that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but I'm pretty comfortable saying that. Okay, so number 1, Pooba John. Every major chord has a minor chord that sounds great with it. If you were writing a song and you played that major chord to start off, and the next chord in the song was the relative minor chord, C to A minor, for example, you're going to be off to a good start towards writing a conventional song. You guys know I use that word conventional in a positive way. I mean, a lot of songs, great songs, have gone from C down to A minor. That's a great sound, right? Other examples of a major chord going to its relative minor, G major going to E minor, classic. G major to E minor. How many songs have you seen with that chord progression? You could reverse it. E minor going to G, also very common. A minor going to C. How about D major, D like Delta, going to B minor, B like Bravo. D major to B minor, or vice versa, B minor, D major. It's another example of major chord and its relative minor. Here's another way to think of the relationship. C major, the C major chord. As soon as we say the C major chord, we should also imagine, okay, we're in the world of C now. We're thinking about focusing on the C major chord, C, got it, okay. Therefore, the C major scale is a very relevant scale to include in the conversation, right? If we're talking about the C major chord, we're focusing on the world of C, okay, C major scale, got it. If you took the C major scale and counted across to the 6th note of a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A. That's how you find the relative minor. The relative minor, the name of the relative minor chord, is named after the 6th degree of whatever major scale is the scale du jour, the scale that we're talking about. A G major scale, if we're in the world of G, the 6th note of a G major scale is a note E. E minor is the relative minor chord to the G major chord. One more way to think of it. Remember, there's multiple ways to think about all this stuff. You know how changing from C major to A minor is a pretty easy chord change? I remember many decades ago, I remember thinking to myself, wait a minute, they have 2 of the same fingers. all I really have to get good at is move my ring finger, and I'll be changing from C to A minor. And I mean, I remember working that, like, dang it, I can do that. I can do that, C to A minor. Little did I know I'd be talking about it in the year 2025. Okay, one reason that's a very easy chord change from C to A minor is the C chord is made up of 3 notes. The A minor chord also made up of 3 notes. 2 notes from the C chord are the same as 2 notes of the A minor chord. There's only 1 note that's different. C major chord, C, E, and G. A minor has a note C as well. It has a note E as well. Instead of the G, it has A. So for the moment, let's call an A minor chord a C, an E, and an A C major chord, C, E, and G. 1 note different. So you change 1 note, and you've effectively changed to a whole other chord, right? That's always the case when you go from any major chord to its relative minor. It also explains why G and E minor. That's a pretty easy chord change, right? It doesn't get too much easier than a G chord going to an E minor chord. Not a coincidence. A G major chord has a G, a B, and a D. An E minor chord has a G, a B, and an E, right? 1 note difference, and that's why it's an easy chord change. Especially for us guitar players with our guitar tuned that same way. It doesn't always work that way. If we take some chord that we don't usually play, maybe something that we end up playing as a bar chord, a G sharp major bar chord. The relative minor of a G sharp major bar chord would be an E sharp, it'd be an F, well, an E sharp minor. I'm picking a weird example here. To get to the 6th chord, you'd have to move the whole bar chord to a new place. At least that's the most common way you do it. So I can't promise you that every time you ever go from any major chord to its relative minor, it's not always going to be as easy as C to A minor is, or as easy as G to E minor is. And why is it not always equally easy? Because we're working with a very specific instrument with strings that are tuned a very specific way. And with our guitars tuned the way they are, certain things are just easier to deal with, just easier to facilitate, and other things are just not. Whereas a piano player might find more equality, changing from this major, this minor. It's like, it might not be quite as big of a deal. Where, as soon as I say the word G sharp major to some of you guys, you understandably think, wait, nope. That's not my thing. You lost me. I get that. Hey, Scott Rhodes is saying this book is available used on Amazon. That would suggest that it's out of print. So I will feel less guilty about sharing a page from it. But hey, go and get yourself a copy of this book. It's a cool book. And hey, you know what? You know what I would love? Get yourself a copy of this book and then make a request. Say, oh, Kentucky boot. And we're back. Little glitch. Okay, we're tough. So I'm just saying, get yourself a copy of this book and make a request, man. Page 115. The name of the song, Charlie Mops. I mean, who doesn't want to learn Charlie Mops, man? Some of these songs, the greatest names, right? The Louisville Burglar. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so thank you, Scott, though, for seeing if it's available. And Chaz is pointing out it's another good reason to become a member of your website. Oh, thank you. I love it when you guys do my sales pitch for me. Okay, hey, we should wrap up pretty soon. I'm going to close down. We didn't get to everything today, but we did a bunch of things, and I loved your guys' questions. I'm just looking back in the chat here. There's very little that cannot be saved for another time, Oh, let's end on the hardest working guitar player. Okay, let's end on that note, because that's as good a way to end as any. And before we get to the hardest working guitar player, I'm also curious, if you haven't voted, maybe you missed our poll question, which isn't exactly a poll question, but it kind of is. In light of the new Patsy Cline recording of some unreleased live recordings of hers, spanning the years 1954, 1963, what late performer would you love to hear one more song from? And you guys answered a bunch of, you guys put a bunch of great names in the chat. Everyone from John Prine to, who else did I see here? Buddy Holly, Hank Williams, Eddie Cochran, Prince, David Bowie. So if you haven't already mentioned it, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm curious who else is out there. You know, as you guys know, these things do get discovered, or maybe some legal issues get cleared up and something finally sees the light of day. You know, with AI, man, you know, it just occurred to me. I can foresee lots of things showing up with AI assistance. You know, John Cavallo was saying Lightning Hopkins. Charlie Beagle says Jimi Hendrix. Rock Lobster says Jimi Hendrix. You know what I'm saying? Maybe something that AI can either clean it up, AI can help rearrange something, you know. I mean, one of the things that you don't even need AI for is to like add a drum track to something, you know. Oh, Charlie Beagle for the win. Robert Johnson. Oh man, the world would explode. Robert Johnson is such a legend. If there was like one new Robert Johnson song that came out after all these years, I think there'd be a variety of people out there in the world who they wouldn't go to work the next day. It's just too much. Joseph is voting for Glenn Campbell. Yeah, what a guitar player. Pooba John is voting for Janis Joplin. Scott Rhodes, who's Mrs. Miller? Who's that? I bet that's someone that's personal, that's close to you, right? Val is voting for the band with Robbie Robertson and everybody. Yeah, so that just popped into my head, but I don't think I'm the first person to think about this. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if more things start showing up. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but you know, if the estate signs off on something, then we might have, you know, music from some of the people we're mentioning, you know, Jimi Hendrix and so on. For better, for worse, it might be something that was not complete, not a real song, but with a little assistance, it gets turned into something that's more complete or more of a real song. And then we'll all have to decide how we feel about that when it comes. But I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if we start seeing more of that. I mean, I know technology has been used quite a bit to clean up old recordings. I mean, every time I hear Robert Johnson, I swear, it's like the recordings get cleaner and clearer than I ever imagined, you know. Fascinating stuff. Okay, let's end on this note. The hardest working guitar players. What made me even think about this? There's a very cool band, and I'm going to put the name in the chat. And I've been listening to this band a lot recently. The band is called the Los Angeles League of Musicians, also known as LALOM. And I've been listening to them a lot recently. There you go. I'll put a link to some of their stuff in the description of this video. It's guitar, bass, and drums, right? So if you're the only guitar player in the band, you're carrying a lot on your shoulders. If you're the only guitar player in the band and the whole point of the band is guitar instrumentals, then you're carrying everything. No offense to bass players. You guys know I'm a recovering drummer myself. But man, who's the hardest working guitar player? It's when there's only guitar, bass, and drums, and there's not even any vocals. It's just, I mean, believe me, if you're the guitar player and you're also singing, that's a big deal. But man, a guitar trio like this Los Angeles League of Musicians, and it's all just, it's all about the guitar player. That, to me, that's a hard-working dude, song after song after song. And if I were to think of another modern example, good old Khruangbin, named after the Thai word for airplane. And I'm putting their name in the chat. There we go. Khruangbin. Am I spelling it right? I believe I am. You guys, I believe you've heard me mention both of these folks before. Again, if it's all about the guitar player and the drums and bass are there to provide an awesome groove, and they're killing it. The drums and bass are fantastic, right? That's great. Nevertheless, man, it's all in the guitar player's shoulders. Oh man, that's a hardworking dude. You know what I mean? One mistake, one little brain freeze. That is tough, man. So that's my vote for the hardest working guitar players out there. Yes, I'm aware that everyone's working hard. I get it. I get it. Obviously, if you're a solo musician, then again, I mean, I've been that guy. If you're the only musician, there's one aspect that makes your life easier. There's no band that has these expectations of what you're about to do. There's no arrangement that you necessarily have to stick with. Like, oops, I was going to do the verse twice, or oops, I was going to go to the bridge right there. If you're the only musician, yeah, the spotlight's on you and it's all, but there's a certain amount of pressure. As soon as you got a band behind you, as soon as that's happening, there's these expectations that are just much different from the expectations when you're the only musician. At least it can be that way. So my opinion, I'm less stressed when I'm the only person doing their thing than when I am when there's a band involved. That's been my experience, but your experiences may vary. On that note, that's my vote for the hardest working guitar players out there. I hope you check out both of those people if you're not already familiar with both of those bands. The Los Angeles League of Musicians, LALOM. I've been listening to them a lot recently just because it's great groove, great tunes. Sometimes I listen closely, and sometimes I just have it on as I go about whatever I'm doing, do the dishes or whatever. And then Khruangbin, love Khruangbin. They're coming through, they're on tour for sure. Actually, probably both of those acts are on tour. But Khruangbin is coming through Connecticut later this summer, I think. Everybody's on tour. You notice that? The weather's nice and everybody's out there. Everybody. Willie Nelson, everybody's out there. All right, you guys. On that note, I'm going to wish you a great week. Happy Mother's Day again. I'm going to say hi to my mom, hi to my wife. Thank you, our two moderators, Music Fan 1004. Thank you for being a moderator. Beginner Guitar Lessons. Thank you for being here. Have a great day with your mom, if that's a possibility tomorrow, or the mom in your life. If you are a mom, I hope you have a great day tomorrow. I'll see you guys in a week. Next week will be our 97th live stream. Woohoo! Also, May 13, in a few days, is our 2-year anniversary. So maybe we should do something next week to celebrate 2 years of this live stream. Holy moly. Remember, you can go back and watch all these things. If you want to support this live stream, I'm not going to say no. You can buy yourself something from Sweetwater, but use the affiliate link in the description of this video. You can make a super chat donation with that $sign down at the bottom of the page. You can go to my website, song-bike.com. Oh, actually, you can buy some merch based on the merch of the link in this description. You can get yourself a SongBike t-shirt, baseball hat, whatever. Are they cheap? No, they're not cheap. But you're not just buying a t-shirt, right? You're like supporting it, Also, you'd be one of the few people on the planet with an awesome SongBike t-shirt or baseball hat. You can go to my website, song-bike.com, become a member, access all the PDFs I've been talking about, and see a whole bunch of videos. And that is also a way to support what we're doing right here. You can also tell a friend. We have very consistent numbers, and I love it. I would love to double those numbers. So tell a friend about what we're doing. Anybody at work who plays the guitar, say, hey, check out this guy's live stream. It's kind of fun. And remember, everybody can watch it later. You guys know that, right? You don't have to watch it live, although I love that people are here watching it live, but you can watch it later too. All right, you guys. On that note, thank you for being here. I'll see you next Saturday. I hope you have a great week. Hope you have a chance to play the guitar a little bit. And I'll see you next time. My weekend begins now. Take care, everybody.